Hi, I'm Hannah Kincaid, and I'm an editor-in-chief with Mother Earth Living, and I am here with Dr. Patrick Biggs at the beautiful Seven Springs Resort for the Mother Earth News Fair. Patrick, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
We're going to talk about backyard poultry, flocks, and nutrition today. Patrick is an animal nutrition expert, so we've got the guy to talk to, and we want to dive right in with those of you who perhaps have not kept chickens before and want to get started. What are the supplies that they would need?
So the things that you're going to need, like most things, you're going to need a place to keep them. So we have a cage, some bedding material to put down on there to help with mess, keep that down, feed, water. If you have young birds, if you're looking for starting chicks, a thermometer and a heat lamp to kind of keep track of the temperature for those birds would be great. And then other than that, cleaning supplies, because we want to make sure that we keep things clean, a way to wash your hands and keep yourself safe from those birds.
Okay, and what about a coop? What exactly do you need to think about when you're getting a coop?
As they get older and they need to move out, then you want to obviously need a coop. So we think about, when we talk about a coop, we talk about both the coop and the run. Usually they're attached. The coop is where the birds would go to sleep at night and where you want them to lay eggs.
Okay.
And then the run area is where they're going to spend most of their time during the day. Out in the run area, you would think about putting your food and your water out there, a dust bath if you're going to have that out there. Make sure you would like a roof on the run area, so protect them against the elements, rain, and provide them some shade, and to protect them against kind of wild birds, because we don't want the wild birds getting in with them. When we talk about the run area, we want to use welded wire, so we want something to keep predators out. So that's probably the biggest thing you want to pay attention to when you're designing your coop and getting it started, is how you're going to keep other animals out of your run, because you set up these chickens right here in the yard, and the predators that are in the area are going to make their way towards the buffet that you've set up. So
we're not the only one who likes chickens.
That's right. So we need to keep things like raccoons and foxes and mink and all of those animals outside of the coop. So a lot of people want to use chicken wire to do that. Chicken wire is great for keeping the chickens where you want them, but it's not great for keeping things like foxes and raccoons and possums out, because that wire is very soft. Animals can actually get in there and pry it open enough where they can stick an arm in and grab hold of a chicken. So things like that, and even for the coop and the run, anywhere where there's an opening. So if you have doors, windows, you're going to want that welded wire to be in that opening. So even if your window has a screen on it, I still want you to put welded wire up behind that screen to prevent anything from getting in, because the predators can be very diligent about getting in, and a screen isn't going to keep most animals out, so they can still go through that. But if that wire is there, then they can't do that. And so we like to use the wire mesh too, because it allows lots of airflow, because we want to keep as much air moving through there, especially during the warmer months.
And then if you want to raise chickens organically, I know that's something that a lot of our readers are really interested in. Mm-hmm. How exactly do you have an organic chicken versus a traditionally raised one?
It really comes down to how you're feeding the bird. So to have an organic chicken and to have organic eggs, you need to feed that bird organic feed. So like Purina Organic has a line. We have a line of feed that you can feed to your laying hens from starter to all the way through adulthood. You have the first 48 hours of that chicken's life. She can eat whatever she wants, but from 48 hours on, she has to be on organic feed from that point. And then at that point, she can be considered an organic hen.
So organic feed would be all the ingredients within it were grown organically?
There are a couple distinctions on organic. So the 95% of the feed has to be organic in order to get that USDA organic stamp on that. So that's really accounting for 5% of the feed ingredients that just aren't available in an organic form. some of the vitamins and the minerals. There just isn't an organic form of that. Methionine is an amino acid that we add to the diet. It's also not available in an organic form. So that accounts for the things that we just can't provide to the hen in an organic form that without it would cause her to not grow and thrive. So we have to make some accommodations to account for that. But all of the Purina feed is at least 95% organic. Now our scratch grains that you can actually find is actually 100% organic ingredient, because there are only 3 ingredients and all 3 of those are certified as organic.
So Patrick, a lot of our readers are interested in organic feeds and what's in them and what exactly to feed to their backyard flock at various life stages.
Okay.
Could you explain a little bit more about that for us?
So Purina has a line of organic feed. It's really designed for laying hens, so both the chicks and the adults, the layers. We have the starter grower. You can get those birds from 0 to 18 weeks, and then around 18 weeks we will switch over to the layer feed, and that comes in both a pellet and a crumble. The Purina line is certified as organic. And then for the adult hens, we also have an organic scratch product that we can offer them as well. Now I want to limit the amount of scratch that we feed to those developing birds between 0 to 18 weeks. We want to make sure that they get the right nutrition, and scratch grains are kind of like candy for children. They taste great and they're going to eat a lot of it, but there's not a lot of nutrition in there. So we want to make sure that it's very important during those first 18 weeks that they get the right amounts of vitamins and minerals and other nutrients that they need so that they grow, and so that long term they'll be good, strong layers. So once they reach that adulthood, then we can start spoiling our ladies a little more. We can provide them with some scratch grains. Again, we want to follow kind of a 90-10 rule. When we do that, most of their feed, the 90% of their nutrition, should be coming from their layer feed, and then the other 10% of that could be the scratch grains and treats and so on and so forth. So we still want to limit what they get.
Okay.
And then, I guess the other thing, our scratch grains are great. It's a 100% organic product. There are only 3 ingredients. There's 3 components. We have corn, wheat, and barley are the 3 ingredients of our scratch grain product.
So Patrick, if you notice that your hens aren't eating as much, what is that a sign of?
Well, it can be a sign of many things. It's really a sign of something's not quite right in their area. Something's not quite right with them. So you start to take a look at what's going on. So, first we'll make sure that they have feed and that there's nothing wrong with the feed. Make sure it's not moldy or caked or old. So check the feeders and make sure that the feeders are flowing, especially if you have gravity feeders. Sometimes the feed gets stuck and it doesn't flow through. Beyond that, I would go with water. Look at the water. The water is actually very important for birds to eat. They typically won't eat if they don't have water to drink. They actually drink a fair amount. They drink about 3 times what they actually eat. So without that, and it's very important that they have plenty of water. Now in the winter it's even more important because the food is what's going to keep them warm. And if your water freezes over, you'll have that happens quite often depending on where you're at during those colder months. If the water freezes over, then the birds aren't going to eat, and if they're not eating, then they're not staying warm, and then it doesn't take long for the cold to set in and bad things to happen with those birds. Yeah, it snowballs from there. So make sure that the water's not frozen. If it's not the feed and it's not the water that your birds aren't eating, then I would take a look at the bird themselves. Take a look at signs of illness. A little aggression issue going on there. Look for signs of illness. If they're sick, they're not going to want to be eating. So if they're not eating, that might be a sign that something's going on. So look at them. Do they look a little unkempt? Most of the times the birds look nice. Their feathers are, right up against their body. They look really well kept. If they're sick, they tend to fluff out a little more. They're not quite keeping their feathers quite as neat as usual. You may see they'll be a little listless. They're not moving around as much. You might see some discharge from their nose and from the eyes as well. And so if that's the point, then it might be a good idea to get to a veterinarian and have them figure out what's going on and develop a treatment plan for it.
Okay. Okay. So when you get your coop is set up, you have all your supplies, you're feeding them this good organic feed. When can you start expecting some eggs?
Around 18 weeks is when we say you're going to start seeing eggs out of birds. Depending on the breed and how you're managing them, it could be a little sooner, maybe 16 weeks with some breeds, but then it also could with some of our slower growing breeds and some of the more heritage type chickens, it may be 20, 22, 24 weeks before you start seeing eggs out of them. But around that 18 weeks is when we start to talk about making that transition from a starter feed to the layer feed.
Okay. So as the eggs, when they're done producing, at a certain point, they're going to start not producing as many eggs as they
right.
can, right?
Chickens, the hens will lay eggs for quite well for about the first 3 years of their lives. From 3 to 6 years, the egg production is going to start to decrease, and then after 6 years, it's really going to be more sporadic. That's kind of the end of their reproductive life. You may get an egg every now and then out of them, but we're talking once a week, once a month.
Okay.
It's not nearly every day like you would expect early on.
Okay.
And so at that point, when they stop laying eggs like that, you can really start thinking about how you can adjust the diet to account, because they don't need all that extra calcium in their diet. So then at that point you could switch them back to something like flock raiser, which is more of a meat bird diet, or even back to the starter feed, which is a lower protein diet, or it was an 18% protein diet versus a flock raiser, which is a 20% protein diet. And the start and grow product is going to have a little less energy in it, so she's not going to pick up nearly as much weight.
Okay. And would she eat? Do they begin eating less at that point, or?
They're probably still going to eat the same amount, so it's really a good idea to keep an eye on how much she's eating so that she doesn't get too overweight.
Okay.
And then you may have to kind of limit what she gets if she starts putting on too much weight. Right, because you obviously, if you're keeping them that long, they're part of your family, and so you want to take good care of them. So.
And it sounds like there are so many benefits to keeping a backyard flock. What, in your mind, what are the?
There are so many benefits, and I think a lot of people out there are going to have a feel for what that is, but for me, it's that getting to know their personalities, getting that kind of, especially if you have a flock where you interact with them a lot, you're going to learn to know their personalities, you're going to develop a relationship, you're probably going to give them a name, and so they're going to become part of your family, and then we like to call them, they're pets with benefits, because they do provide you with those eggs. You can get eggs on a daily basis out of each of these chickens. If you're really looking to increase the nutrition of the eggs, you can actually feed one of Purina products called Leina Plus Omega, where you can actually increase the amount of omega-3 fatty acids in those eggs, and so that benefits your health as well. So,
what is in that feed that has it?
So we add flaxseed to the diet. So we've done some research to show how much flaxseed we need to add to the diet, and that will give us that consistent response. So you feed the diet to the birds for 3 weeks, and then after that you'll get 250 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids in each egg that hen lays.
What is that compared to a typical egg?
So a typical egg is only going to have about 50 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids. It's a big boost in the amount of omega-3 fatty acids in those eggs. And then I think some other benefits that. One of the things you're going to find, you're going to watch these chickens all the time, because they're very entertaining in all the things they do as they scratch around, they dig through your garden, the grass, and start pecking things, digging for worms. When they find something, you'll see everyone will be so excited they'll all charge each other. So it gets to be, you'll spend hours of entertainment. I will warn you though that you're likely to lose some friends by having chickens, because you're going to be out taking videos and pictures, and you're going to be filling up your Facebook pages and your Instagram accounts with all these pages. And so some of your friends are probably going to get a little annoyed that all you post are your chickens, but
chicken lady is the new cat lady.
But on the plus side, you're going to find other people who are posting chicken pictures and videos, and they are going to be your new friends. So there's a benefit in there. You just got to get there.
Right, there's quite a community around it. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for coming out and speaking with us today. We are so glad to have Dr. Patrick Biggs, Purina Animal Nutritionist, with us here at the beautiful Seven Springs Resort for the Mother Earth News Fair. Thank you.
quiet, you.